All right, section 5, how to open a support ticket with F5. For Object 501, you need to be able to identify the appropriate support components that in identifying severity levels for F5 in a ticket system. So as you're opening up tickets with F5, if you need to as an administrator, you need to be able to identify all the different components that they're going to require you to gather to give to them. We have QK views being probably one of the key things they're going to ask for. Of course, when you open a ticket with F5, the first thing they're going to ask you on the phone is going to be, what is your serial number of your unit that you're having a problem with? That one's going to be tied to them looking your unit up in support to make sure it's under contract for support, so they know they can support you. If you're not under support, odds are good that they may help you with that ticket, but they're not going to help you with anything past that because you're not under support. They may ask you for different things like your times that you work on, your hours, your daily hours, and when you're going to be in office. They'll try to figure out what your base problem is so they can get you assigned to an SE. The SE may want a QK view from your box. Essentially, all the basic stuff they're going to need to help start troubleshooting the problems you're having. You're going to have to give them a description of the problem, things of that nature. iHealth is a good place for you to go out with your own QK view and maybe do some pre-troubleshooting before you bother to open the ticket. How do we generate a QK view on the box? It's pretty simple. This is one of the few things on the box, as far as troubleshooting stuff, gathering information, I like to do at the GUI rather than command line. If you go into System Support in the menu system and you land on this page, click the QK View checkbox and hit Start. I don't particularly like to do TCP dumps from this screen. GUI TCP dumps to me just seem unnatural. I like to do them from command line. But QK views from here are easy because when you hit Start, what it's going to do for you is it's going to start running a QK view gathering on the box. Basically, if you're a Cisco guy, this is a showtech type of a function you would do on a router. It's going to generate an output file that has a lot of information about the box in it, current logs, all the configuration, what OS, all that kind of good stuff. It's going to be in this file. And once it's done, it's going to give you a download button right from the GUI, so you can click the download button and pull that file via the web interface down to your box without having to. If you're on a command line and you did this entry, I think I have it here someplace, or maybe I don't. If you did the QK view from command line, it's actually going to stick that in a directory, and you're going to have to SCP that file off the box. So that's an extra step. And if I do it in the GUI, I can do it right from the same interface where I'm kicking it off. I can just click a button and download it. Then you can upload it to F5. You can upload it to iHealth yourself. Let iHealth tell you things that it sees that might be a problem or things that may be going on in the box, what's good, what's bad. It's a good place to go. Get used to using iHealth. If they ask for other things like a TCP dump, you can go gather one kind of similar to what we did earlier today in our TCP dump section. Also, they may ask for things like the core dumps off the box if there are any, which is, if you're asking for core dumps, you're probably deep into a problem and it's not good. Other supporting information they may need, architectural information, how it's deployed, just general stuff overall for them to start working on your problem. You need to be able to identify severity levels and the associated response times to those severity levels. You will see stuff on the test around severity levels and the different ones we have. We have SEV 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s with F5. 1s and 2s have a 1-hour response times. 3s have a 4-hour response times, and 4s are generally a 24-hour response time. The definitions of them from SEV 1s to SEV 2s range from device will not power up, is not passing traffic at all. That's a SEV 1 for us. You are hard down. Your company is losing money. Critical business activities are stopped. SEV 2 is also a 1-hour response time, but it's a little bit different in the tagging of how they've got it. It's the software or hardware conditions on your F5 are preventing or significantly impairing the function for your business activities. You're not necessarily a hard down, but you are highly impacted. SEV 3s our software conditions are degrading your service, but you're not at a high level of impact. for the function you're having and that problem you're having, and that's a 4-hour response time. And set 4s are generally around questions regarding how-tos. I'm having, troubleshooting non-critical issues, things of that nature. I tend to say this in every class I have. So for some of you that are watching this video, you're not a partner SE company. You're actually you could be just a owner of an F5 within your business, and you're wanting to watch these to get certified. Other partners that work in the field as VARs and resell our goods and install F5 products. If you're an F5 SE working for a VAR that does installations of F5 gear, and you call in to F5 to do a support ticket because you don't know how to do something, probably not a good thing, right? Because you're contracting yourself out to go do the install, and now you're calling F5 support to have them help you with something you don't understand how to do. What I would tell you here is that you should probably make sure that it's something that's tied to there being something wrong with how things are working, more so than I just don't know how to do this. If you're a true customer, you own the box, you are working for the company that owns the hardware, and you have a how-to question, F5 really has no problem with answering those types of questions. Okay, providing a quantitative and relevant information for any given issue. You need to be able to quantify or distinguish between qualitative and quantitative statements to be able to tell F5 support, or any support organization for that matter, what your problem is and what's going on. So quantitative observations are precise and can be measured. It's taking an additional 20 seconds per connection over to the times that we saw this morning. That's quantitative. If you're doing qualitative, it seems to be taking longer than it did this morning, and that's not really going to help them determine or tie to what's going on. I've always had a really good example of this when it came to certain environments. When things go wrong, sometimes how long it takes for something to work can be indicative of what might be causing the problem. So you always want to take measurement as much as you possibly can. DNS resolutions time out after so many seconds, and the typical query is made and it's non-successful. It takes time for it to time out. And that timer could be a delay and a reverse lookup, something to that effect. And so understanding when things occur and how often they occur, and being quantitative and not qualitative, can help a lot when it comes to troubleshooting problems faster, for sure. Distinguish between relevant and irrelevant information. I love this bullet point. It makes me laugh every time I see it. Don't come in talking about how, well, I'm having a problem right now with VIP A. It seems to be taking a little bit longer to do this morning. That's qualitative. And, oh, by the way, I had a problem with VIP 6 yesterday, and I don't know why. It has nothing to do with the problem you're having currently, and all that's going to do is lead any kind of support desk down a wormhole that has nothing to do with what's going on right now with your problem. So try to be relevant with the information you're giving when you open a ticket. It's just good practice. So Section 6, identify and report current device status. Here this chapter kind of overlaps one of our chapters this morning, in that it's reviewing the network map and the status of objects inside the configuration of the F5 Big IP platform. So what they're wanting us to do is to be able to explain the status of icon objects on the map. So when you're looking at that network map, I showed you a clip of this morning. You're going to see virtual servers, pools, and nodes, or pool members, I should say, what their statuses are inside the network map area. And if you hover over any of these objects, it'll actually give you pop-up flyover boxes that give you some great information on the different objects. Like inside your pool members, it'll show you the parent status of that node. Inside your pool, it may show you what, list of some different information about the pool if you hover over. And all of these are hyperlinks. So it's a great place to look at the configuration of the box and to be able to drill into things that are wrong. If you had a member of a pool that was down, you could click on that member object right here in the map, and it would take you directly to the configuration screen for that object. Great for navigation, quick way to get to navigate around within all the objects inside the config when you see that something's wrong. Great visual place to work from. So to an F5, there's like 5 different types of objects you really should be aware of. There's pools, let's start at the top. There's virtual servers, there's pools, pool members, and nodes. And then you have things like iRules that you may see inside the map as well. But to an F5, what a virtual server is nothing more than an IP combination port that's listening on the platform. So when I talk about a virtual server, it's really truly represented by a lot of different configuration settings, but what it really boils down to is an IP port listener on the big IP F5 that's going to take in traffic and process traffic. Pool that you would normally associate to a virtual server is an object that is a collection of pool members that are all running a like or similar service or application. So it's a logical grouping, it's an object in the config that's a logical grouping of pool members. And all of those pool members are running the same application or a like or similar service. Pool members are an IP port combination that's listening on the servers behind the F5. So just like our virtual server is listening to take in traffic on the big IP platform, the pool member definition is the server's IP port listener on the back-end network behind the F5. Nodes are the representation of that server on the back end behind F5s at an IP layer. So it's nothing more than an IP address to the F5. Those are the critical objects within the configuration that you should be aware of what they are and what they mean. Okay? Virtual servers, IP port listener on the big IP. Pools is a logical grouping of pool members. Pool members are the IP port listeners on the servers behind the F5 defined as objects inside the config on the F5. And the nodes are an IP address of the servers behind the F5. Given a situation, oops, that just skipped over too. Interpret the statistic types displayed by the dashboard. So you need to be able to look at a dashboard here in Objective 6.02 and be able to determine what you're looking at. Am I looking at open connections, current connections, new connections, SSL connections? What are my throughputs on the box, throughput compression and combined views? I need to look and see, in my CPU view here, what am I looking at? I'm looking at busiest CPU in this RPM gauge and what my usage or percentage of my CPU utilization has been over the last 5 minutes. Memory utilization, things of this nature. Get very familiar with this interface, this dashboard interface. This is a pop-up GUI to the rest of the GUI on the box. When you're logged in on the 443 interface, there will be a link in the upper left-hand menu that takes you to the dashboard. It'll launch a whole new window for this dashboard. The RPM gauges are really a snapshot in time of exactly what they're defining. The overview performance section we went into earlier, and I showed you a screenshot of earlier, is actually trending over a period of time. So you're going to see the last 3 hours or week or 7 days, 30 days of time of the trend of that statistic that you're looking at. Here it's just a snapshot dashboard of what's going on right now. You may get questions where you're given a snapshot of the dashboard and you're asked to predict the appropriate dashboard statistics from what you're seeing. Maybe I'll give you a situation, we're about to hit peak and the company every day has been having problems. What would you expect to see if we were having an influx of extra connections on the dashboard statistics? Things of that nature. Objective 6.3, review log files in order to gauge current operational status of the device. So you're looking again, this is another one of those where they're going to give you a log file snippet and they're going to ask you to look at the log file snippet and figure out what that sequence of events was that went down inside the log file. Once again, it's A, B, or C, D, E question. You can almost look at the answers and see which one of them matches your log files. Work it in reverse maybe. But you should get familiar with reading log files and seeing what they look like because that structure is not always clear when you see them for the first time. You look at them enough, you understand what you're looking at, so it helps you get through the questions faster. Remember, 80 questions in 90 minutes. Okay, you only get so much time. Here's an example of a snapshot of the LTM file logs from one of my boxes. And you can see here where I've got a couple of events where I've got 2 objects down at a pool due to a health monitor, and then they're coming back up due to a health monitor. No members were available for this pool at this point in time. So it's giving you events and a triggered list of events. You maybe need to identify critical events. Maybe if you're seeing the log file and it's telling you have hard drive errors, or you're having power supply failures, or you're having fan chassis failures. What were the major critical events in this log file snapshot? You want to look for things like that. Objective 6.4 is talking about IAPS Analytics. IAPS Analytics is our analytics engine in version 11.1. So that has changed a little bit. Our AVR, our analytics engine is a little different in the newer versions. It's not set up the same. In 11.1, we were still doing IAPS templates to set up our analytics engine. Now we don't do it inside IAPS anymore. It's set up as a profile, completely separate. But in 11.1, you need to be familiar with how IAPS were set up for analytics. You need to be able to describe how to capture those analytics, analytical statistics, and you do that by walking through the IAPS wizard, creating basically the analytics profile, and then you're going to apply that to the virtual server to be able to gather all those statistics that you want to gather. What kind of statistics are we talking about? We're talking about things like page load times. I want to see the top user sessions. I want to see the top URL calls that had the most 404 errors returned. And you're going to get a lot of that statistical analytics information returned to you as graphical output that you can actually kind of create executive level reports for what's going on inside the box for each application. The way to view is to go down, and if you're in the newer versions, you're going to go down to statistics analytics, and you're going to be able to go in and view some of your reports that you have generated up for each of your profiles. If you were given a current running status, could you recognize significant statistics? So you're showing you a dashboard or maybe even a performance of the box snapshot as a pop-up window, and you're going to look at that and then answer the question they're asking you around what was the significant problem going on in the box right now. Was it memory utilization? Was it CPU utilization? You need to be able to read the different interfaces that we have available to you on the box. There's not a lot of questions like that give you a pop-up exhibit of command line output of what's going on in the box. Most of those are going to be pop-up exhibits of graphical GUI based screenshots.